Hi guys, hope you're doing well. This is Dan here. In this lesson I'm going to show you Taxman by the Beatles, played by Paul McCartney. It's a really great bass line, and it sort of does the same thing more or less throughout, which is that bass line, and it just moves to different chords. So it's over a D7 chord at the beginning. And I'm playing this short scale Hofner club bass, similar kind of bass to what McCartney would have played, but a different body shape. This is a new one, and it's got round wound strings on it that came with the bass, but it's got that sort of Beatlesy vibe to it. And because it's a shorter scale bass, it's much easier to play this. So if you've got a normal sized bass, I'll give you another way that you might find helpful. So we're on the 5th fret, that's the note D. And it's just the D to the octave, which is just 2 frets across, 2 strings down. And the way I'm plucking that is I'm plucking with the index first, and the longer middle finger is ready even before needed to play the octave, which I'm playing with my little finger, just minimises the stretch there. You return to the low D. And then there's this little hammer on between fret 5 and 7 of the D string, the G and the A. Plucking that with my middle finger. And then I've got the C on the 5th fret of the G string. Because I've got this short scale bass, which the dimensions are shrunk in every direction, what I'm doing is I'm fretting the D with the tip of the first finger. And instead of having to move the finger each time, I'm just keeping the first finger there and almost just backing the finger down to bar at a different point of the finger. So really slowly. See how the finger's not moving, the fingertips not moving. I think that's a good idea, to minimize the movement that you have to do. It just makes your life a bit easier. But if you've got a bigger bass, smaller hands or whatever, and you do have to move, then you can move your first fingertip to that C there, like I did there. Because that note is quite short as well. McCartney played it really short. It's like C off. So if you do use your fingertip like this, you have time to then return to the beginning again. So it's important that you've got the correct fingering and you've got the right sort of plucking pattern just to get this under your fingers, but do it really slowly, and I'll play it through a couple of times really slow. Before I did this lesson, I just knocked up a little chart just to sort of explain the structure of the song and also for me to remember it. And this is a good way actually of learning songs. Also, if you've got a gig and you're like me and you don't know this song very, very well, you could just make a chart like this and just quickly follow it. But what it does this. The guitar does a hit on that third time, the third bar. So that's the first 4 bars. It does it on that little hit on the 3rd bar. And then does that same thing again. So it's an 8-bar verse. Here it is. Repeats the whole. Then Ringo does a lovely little fill that gets you into the chorus, which is a C7. So you just drop down 2 frets to the 3rd fret, same pattern. And it's 2 bars of that. So when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 1 bar. And when I'm playing songs, I will often think about how many times a riff it goes round. So I'm always inherently counting, and I advise you to do that too. But it's like 2 times round that, and you can think of it that way. Then it goes to a G7, and it's the same bass line. We're on the 3rd fret of the E string now. There's an interesting bridge section where McCartney sort of goes off on one a bit. I didn't even realise he did this until I listened to this song before filming. He does something like. So he just plays a little bit more busy, a little bit busier there. And it's the same notes, Which I'll explain that to you now, because I think it's really handy to have these under your fingers. So we've got over the D7, the D is the root note. If you go 2 frets across and 1 string down, that's the A on the D string. That's the 5th of the chord. That's the octave, same fret on the G string. The 5th fret, the C, that's the flat 7 of the chord. So when it says D7, that's referring to that C there, that's the 7. And in this little funny section here, using all those notes plus the 5th fret of the D string, which is a 4th. And these are just really common notes to hear in bass lines. I really recommend that you learn this. Sort of old school R&B, soul, Motown. I mean, this all came from blues and dominant chords, which is the 7 after a letter. That just means D7, D dominant. Those chords belong to that sort of genre, and, you know, old school R&B. And you hear these patterns all the time, so it's a good idea to learn them. So I think it's something like this. So that's the root, the 5th, and the octave. So D, A, and D. Fret 5, 7, and 7. And then I think he's going. So that's frets 5 and 7 of the D, and then also 5 and 7 of the G, returning to that 5th fret. Sometimes a little slide down. Might be going instead to the G. Alternate plucking, because it's quite fast there. It's a really cool, interesting, unexpected section, that. So I've got my little chart here, which you can download, by the way. I'll put a link to this. So the intro is just 2 bars of D7. We've got this little structure here where we've got 8 bars of a verse, and then, you know, this little chorus section, and just goes around that. We've got that little bridge section, and then the solo is exactly the same as the verse. Then you got verse 3 and verse 4. Something weird happens at the last chorus, where it goes. So it's F7. There's 2 bars of F there, so if I'm following my chart on a gig or something, I know that it's 1 bar. Just do that twice. Then it sort of fades out over a solo, which is over those verse chords again. When you're learning a song, you obviously have to learn the bass line like this. You've got to get the techniques down. But you really want to have some idea of the structure of the song as well, you know, as I've written it down here, because that's going to help you memorize the song much better. And this song is fairly simple, the structure of it. There's not too many sections going on there. There's that, you know, that's what you've got to worry about, really. So when you get to the second chorus, you know that after the last 2 D7s, you're heading into that. I'll play that verse for you again slowly. Here's the chorus. I'm resting my thumb on the E string to mute that. When I'm plucking, I'm just, you know, I'm trying to work, and this is not just on this tune, just on clean plucking, so that there are no strings ringing out, and that's what you really want to work on. See, everything's clean, there's nothing ringing out. Now, if my first finger is playing the fingertip on that root note, on the D, and I'm also backing my finger onto these, and I'm resting there, well, all the strings are muted anyway, so that's all good. Obviously, when I get to the G, I have to move my thumb off and onto the pickup. Then I'm back onto that E to mute it. Towards the end of the song, McCartney does a few little fills. So, you know, there. Just going fret 7, 5 of the G string, back to the A, 7th fret of the D string. But if you know... I like to analyse songs in this way, because if you know that McCartney played, these sort of notes over a dominant chord, and he would have listened to Jameson and Bootsy Collins and people like that, although Bootsy was probably a bit later. Bootsy probably listened to McCartney. If you analyse songs in this way, then when it comes time for you to make up your own lines, you have a reference point. And that's why I do lots of lessons like this. And if you have any requests, I've got a long list, but if there's anything that's kind of easy-ish to do like this and doesn't take me too much time, I can do it quite quickly. I like to analyse songs in this way, and if you want to make up your own bass lines, record, you're going to have a real good frame of reference by doing this. So follow the link, download that PDF if that helps you to memorise the song. Unfortunately, I can't play along to the original here because I'll get copyright claims and things like that. So really what you want to do is learn the bass line as much as you can, as up to speed as you can, then play along to the original. It's almost like you're playing along to the original band. And if you do this, hopefully without tab, and hopefully this will help you condition your ear a little bit to these chords and also learn the patterns. And then when you hear other bass lines that sound similar to this, you're on a better footing to then learn that. And I really recommend that you just learn as many songs that you like as you possibly can. So I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you did, please subscribe, share, like the video, and I'll see you next time.